Hey guys, let's talk about last night's episode of Chicago Fire, and it was another good episode with a very juicy ending that many of us who have been shipping Casey and Dawson for the last year and a half got our little payoff. Oh, it was so good. Right, so the episode really kicked off with a drive-by shooting that happened in Cruz's neighborhood, and this sparked up another meeting with Voight. Ugh, we all remember Voight from last season. And he's a cop that is going to be on Chicago PD. And what we kind of find out at the end of last season was that he's not really a crooked cop as we all think he is. He's sort of acting in that role. But he's still not a really nice guy, and nobody wants him slithering around them. So when this drive-by shooting happens in the neighborhood, it happens to affect a young girl that Cruz and his brother know. And they come up with this idea that they want to put Cruz's younger brother, Leon, back into this gang organization, which is not going to end well, we all know. And in order for him, and the only reason why he's going to do it is so that his brother doesn't get accused of murdering Flacco. And if you all remember last season, there was a fire, and Flacco, who was like the head of this gang organization, was caught in the fire, and Cruz left him to die. So the only person that knows the truth about it is Cruz and Casey. And Voight sniffing around would be no good. So this is a storyline, like, I don't really want to see Cruz spiral out of control again, but, it's an interesting story, which I'm sure that they'll probably spin into this Chicago PD show that's going to be coming out in January. And we also got our first look at Sophia Bush, who's going to be on that cast as well. And we all remember her. She was on that CW show way back in the day. Yes, we all know who she is. Okay, so that was a pretty significant storyline that was going on in this episode. And of course, Casey wants to make sure that nothing is going to happen with Cruz because, Voight is not a cool dude. And Casey knows all too well what he's actually capable of. So we got some bits and pieces in this episode of Kelly trying to reconnect with his half sister, and she's a chef, and he invites her to come over to the Firehouse to cook for the guys, but she doesn't show up, and he goes and checks on her, and she's pretty much like, "Listen, your father." Has disappointed me in the past. I met him when I was 10, and he said that he would come and see me. And the next time I saw him, I was like 21. So, she doesn't want to get her heart broken again. She doesn't want to reach out and then have the door be slammed in her face. And Severide pretty much tells her that he's not his father. So, trust that I'm not going to do what my father did in the past, which was kind of nice to see. Then we had, the Bowden/Gale showdown. And she pretty much comes into his office and is like, "I am going to shut down 51 and I am going to destroy you." I mean, these two have been going at it since day one of season 2. And it looks like she is going for blood in this. And, what, like, he doesn't want to leave his people. He doesn't want to leave the job that he's had for so many years. There's nothing wrong with that. Now she just has like this vendetta against him, and who knows at what length she's going to go to try to take him down. And of course, Bowden goes to Mouch and asks him to go to the union rep and see if they can put a stop to this and see if they can somehow work on his behalf. And at first, the guy who won doesn't want to help. And he says it's not going to be in my best interest to go up against these people in my first year as union rep. And then Mouch throws in the nice little tidbit that he knows that he's been cheating on his wife, and we all know that she wouldn't want to find out. So it was nice to see that they brought some storylines that have happened in the past, and they didn't just leave them and use them, in 1 week. We actually got some more discussion about them later down the road. So that was kind of good too. Then we had Shay and her girlfriend, who we all knew was nothing but trouble. Yeah, that's right. She broke into the house and stole all of their stuff. I mean, the writing was on the wall with this. Shay is completely spiraling out of control. She wants to leave 51. She's pretty much already put in her transfer. She's not coming back to the Firehouse. Dawson doesn't know what to do about it. Obviously, Severide can't talk to her. And at the end of the episode, they come home and their whole house is trashed. Everything is gone. And her girlfriend stole all of their belongings. I mean, come on, this girl is just a hot mess. Then we also had some stuff with Mills and Isabelle. And Isabelle was the girl who was kind of dating Mills, but Mills wasn't really over Dawson. And so they kind of took a break. And she wanted him to be her date for this function that she was going to so she could cozy up to this. I think he was a mayor or a congressman. Anyways, it turns out that the congressman was black. And so Mills is like, did you bring me because I'm black? And like you wanted it to look like you're in good with the blacks or something? And she's like, no, I really care about you. And we're all kind of looking at her like, honey, I don't think so. It looks like you used Mills to try to get in good. I mean, just call a spade here, right? I'm not really sure where they're going to go with this storyline. I don't really like her anyway. Like, she doesn't really do anything for me. I'm kind of, she doesn't really bring any kind of interest to the screen when she's on it. So hopefully they'll just, be done with this storyline sooner than later. But then we had the scene that we are all like been waiting for. And, at the end of last episode, of course, Casey had to say goodbye to the boys and he was packing up all of, I believe her name is Heather's belongings. And Dawson was there and she was like, I'm really going to miss seeing the boys and coming around to see the boys. And he's like, well, you can still come around to visit. And she was like, well, we've already been down this road. I don't really think that this is something that we should do. And he kind of has this look on his face like, really? And she's like, yeah, really. And then in the episode, there was a scene where there was a car accident and they were pretty much like entangled with one another. And they had these moments where they're looking at each other and you're like, come on, you are meant to be with each other, but nobody wants to get hurt. Well, at least Dawson doesn't want to get hurt. And because, we've all known since season 1 that she's like been in love with Casey. But for all the reasons that were very obvious to all of us, she just couldn't get with him at the time because he had a girlfriend, then they got engaged, and then she died, and then the kids. And so much stuff has gotten in the way. And then, they have this really great scene when she goes to Casey to confide in him that, she's really devastated about Shay and she doesn't know what to do. And, she's her superior officer and, she feels like she could have had a hand in helping her and, like she doesn't know what to do. And he's like, listen, you're a great person and you did everything you can do. Everyone gets to make their own choices in life. And then he really says to her, I don't know where I would have been without you. You've been like kind of everything to me lately. And they have this moment. And of course, the annoying new paramedic comes in and interrupts their scene. But then we get the scene at the end where it looks like she's either debating calling Casey or she's debating whether to go to this party that she was invited to. And she ends up getting all dressed up and she's about to walk out the door. And she looks smoking hot, by the way. And Casey's standing at her front door. And he just looks at her and he just grabs her and kisses her. And then they have this lovely little makeout session inside of her house. And it cuts to black. And I'm just sitting there going, woo, woo, woo. Like, that is what I'm talking about. When you build up an emotional connection between two couples for a season and a bit, and you let it play out like this, I'm rooting for it. It was hot. And I want to know and see where this goes from here, And the one thing that drives me crazy with shows is when they put a couple together and then they don't know how to write for them. And they just become lazy writers and then they throw in these angst and they throw in like an ex-girlfriend or somebody cheats or somebody did something one drunken stupid night and it ruins the relationship. I'm hoping that they will actually let these two have a relationship and go through all of the minutia of a relationship and, like figure out, okay, what do you do now that we're a couple, that we've gotten what we want? Like, let it play out and don't just throw crap at it and try to destroy it by the end of the season, please. All right, guys, I loved the ending, and on that ending, I'm going to let you go. All right, guys, that's my review for Chicago Fire. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'll see you next week. Bye.